All right. Well, I'm so glad today's here because about every 30 seconds a new idea would pop into my head about what I wanted to talk about today. So I've got 80 slides in 45 minutes. So if you don't have ADD, you're going to have it by the end of this for sure. It's going to be a multimedia, just kind of blitzkrieg here. So I'm going to talk about God and nature. I've been shooting weddings for 25 years. And after I've been doing this astro thing for like 2 years, I feel like nobody cared about the weddings I shot. I'm shooting for 2 people, really, and they're like, oh, I love the pictures, and I get some Facebook comments. But I feel like this stuff has really resonated both with me and, the people that I share it with. So it's fun to share it with you and a little bit of the inner workings so that I can continue to do it. But, man, I feel like a different person when I'm out in nature for an extended amount of time. So hopefully today we're going to inspire you a little bit to do the same. Facebook and Instagram, and then I have all of my pictures that I've prepared for printing on this whereisjudd.com because people always ask me where I am. So I was like, well, that's a good URL. So some inspiration, some curiosity, and hopefully some awe. And a lot of this comes from my self-named ChatGPT friend, Astra, which Martha really loves. She's got this amazing New Zealand accent. Yeah, I fact-checked most of it. But there's just a lot to think about, and I think that if you leave here with one thing, it's to really be curious about what's going on, and just find some ways to have little micro adventures, even if it's taking your garbage out and just staying there and looking up at the night sky, or driving 10 minutes to Hugo where it's a little darker, and like getting out of your car and just having a snack or a glass of wine. It's really that easy. All right, this is a little overview from my Instagram. There's a little Instagram logo on there. Here we go. This is kind of a snapshot of what this last year looked for me. Go a little bit less on the lights, I think. I think it's all the way off. I was feeding a... That was aggressive. All right, this is right here in the front is my dad, Sather, and check out that plunging neckline. That's fantastic. A little dog Frisky, and under Wikipedia, if you look under twerp, it's me right there. So we moved around. We were in Oakland, California. Navalas are here. Nice job. And then we went to Spencer. I went to St. Olaf. Wait, would you have people from Spencer here? Iowa in general. Yeah, that receives a cheer. I was at St. Olaf, and then we went to Stillwater. I taught math at North St. Paul for 15 years. So you're going to get some math today, and I know the glossy-eyed look, so I'll try to keep it really brief. And then we started a portrait studio because Martha was home working with the kids, and then we just needed more money. So I figured out how to do digital video editing, started shooting like 35 weddings by my 3rd year. I've shot maybe 500 weddings at this point. I shot last Saturday, believe it or not. Tried to retire, but people still find out about me somehow. And then in 2013, we opened up the Loft, which is on Main Street. I know a lot of you have been to both of these venues. And it's just really fun to be able to create a place for people to celebrate and get married and all the things. So in 2024, there was an eclipse, and the totality line went through Texas. And I was coaching baseball here at Matamita at the time, and I was like, oh, I really want to go down there and figure it out. And that's where I met Derek, and I'm going to show you some of his images and his opinions. And just fell in love with being outside and the challenge of photography. Martha loves camping. I didn't necessarily love camping, but I love photography and camping, if that makes any sense. So like, I will camp to do photography, but camp just to camp, I'm like, I don't know. Just take me to the breakfast place. And so last year was kind of a big year of traveling around after I sold my portrait studio. And then I'm going to start offering workshops in the future that are kind of in the planning stages. So that is a lot of fun to be able to share it. So here's Martha, the photo bomber. This is in Gooseberry Falls. I was going to Photoshop her out, but I was like, it's kind of fun. Such a surprise, Northern Lights. I don't think anybody knew about this one. And we were going to bed, and I was like, luckily we had my camper trailer, and we were just camping at if we were in a VRBO or a hotel, we would have never seen kind of this little green kind of coming up. I was like, I think those might be Northern Lights. And when you take it with your phone and you see something, you're like, okay, that's something. So this was, what month was this? Was this October? It was August? Yeah. So, and then just kind of popped off. There's some video of it later. And then I packed up, and then this is just a shot over my truck. Like, it was, like I was already done shooting, and it kept getting better. Kind of amazing. Bjorn, the Endeavour Air pilot, convinced me on November 12th to take a ride. So this is a shot of Stillwater from the air, which you cannot shoot with a tripod, turns out. I was holding my camera out of this little tiny window like this, and around to try to get an image. Yeah. Would you quit rocking the boat? Yeah, so a unique image and very little Photoshop. I brought down the highlights, brought up the contrast. This is a single image, which is, most of my images are composites, foreground and then the sky are different. All right, here come some verses. The kingdom of God is within you, kind of a heavy one to start with. The universe can feel big, right? Like, you've all seen the videos, it's like, oh my gosh, look at where it is. But like, maybe it's actually within us, and that's what I think this verse says, for sure. I'm not going to read this verbatim. I will read some of the quotes, but you can just kind of take pictures and think about it later. But, the kingdom is within, and so is that responsibility. So the world changes the moment the inner terrain changes. I love that. And obviously the Gandhi quote, be the change you want to see in the world. Like, we can always complain about whatever, right? But if we take on that challenge, it's actually a little easier. All right, so here's my buddy Derek. He's 30 years old. He's pretty opinionated, especially on social media. I will read this verbatim, given what's going on, especially in Minnesota right now. Hey, that's a cool political, these are not my words. This is my friend Derek. Clanger McBanger, he says. But it really resonates. He's a gamer, and that was his, moniker for gaming. That's a cool political opinion and all. But have you ever considered that maybe you're not designed to have a stream of fear-based negative news constantly rammed in your conscious, but rather the creator of the universe designed you to be standing barefoot atop a mesa underneath the cosmos, ascertaining eternal truths like you are in fact an ethereal being with a soul that is tethered to a higher dimension while temporarily occupying a vessel within the divine order of the cosmos. That your limbs and flesh could be the most unique assembled blocks in the entire endless expanse of the universe, because you harbor the tug of war between fear and love within you. That love could only be the actual real thing here because it transcends the vastness of time and space that confine the other forces of the cosmos. That through forgiveness you can become a powerful enough conduit for the Creator's love to help restore this fragmented realm. Just spitballing here, bro. Sorry to interrupt. You're right, I'll vote for that guy too. It seems like they could totally fix the eternal lamentations and compounding woes of the human condition. Pretty eloquent, I think. He's a really unique guy, and he invited me with there were two other photographers and two Navajo natives that took us up on UTVs into this area, and we slept, and the fire was going right over. I woke up with the driest throat I've ever had in my entire life. Couldn't talk for 2 days. But we got pictures like this. Have you seen Forrest Gump where he stops running at the top of the hill? That's the tail end of that. It's called Hunts Mesa. It is in Arizona, on Navajo land. I really like this image. It's an artist that I follow on Instagram. I'm going to give you a bunch of other suggestions to follow because I think that if you just kind of channel your feed to certain things, you're going to feel it differently. But I like the image, all of the negativity, but then you're in nature. He's wearing a scuba helmet, which is kind of interesting. But and Pastor Brian started this Facebook page, Contemplative Photography. So check that out if you have any interest in photography at all. Raise your hand if you're a member of that. Somebody's trying to invite me, and I was already a part of the page. I didn't know it, so that's great. So I think asking if social media is bad, and I love the push away from social media because I feel like people are starting to use their own brains a little more. Same with AI. They're like, is that fake? Is it real? Well, use your own brain. It's better than if it's fed to you, right? Like a spoon is not going to make you fat and, whatever. Okay, I also have a drone, and I totally want to be a pilot, but I started late and became a teacher. So this is some drone fun from this last year.
There was fire in that Arizona sunset, and our love was like a mirror to the sky, trying to stop that desert sand from falling through that hourglass, trying to find the good in goodbye. We were waiting in the Salt River waters, about to get in over our head. She leaned in to kiss me like she already missed me. Said I'll be back again, Mountain Red. Mountain Red, Mountain Red, Mountain Red, Mountain Red. Hold on to the memories, but girl, don't forget I'll be back for you again, Mountain Red. The echo of my heart could fill a canyon. Can you hear it calling out your name? So when you feel the distance, girl, don't you forget that the stars are wishing on us still the same. Mountain Red, Mountain Red, Mountain Red, Mountain Red. Hold on to the memories, but girl, don't forget I'll be back for you again, Mountain Red.
It was like my flying through that canyon was like my third time flying the thing, and it's an FPV, so you wear the goggles and you can see what's going on, and sometimes I get kind of wobbly, but I almost hit a couple of those pillars, and it would have been hard to get it because we couldn't really hike down in there. All right, this is one of my favorite quotes from God. This is called the Large Magellanic Cloud. That's surprisingly funny. So right here is what it looks like to the naked eye. And then I did a close-up, and this is like 40 images stacked on top of each other to get some more detail in it, basically. There's a handful of planets that are kind of Earth-like in the Goldilocks zone that are here, but it's about a third the size of the Milky Way. There's the numbers in here, and this is really far away. I do want to show you this camera since it's in the way of everybody, and then I'm going to move it a little bit, but... Oh, laser pointer, there it is. Okay, so you're going to see some time lapses later. This is called a tracker. This is called a pano head, so I can take like a panoramic. If you see the pictures of the Milky Way when it looks like a rainbow, it's because I have moved it throughout the night, like every 20 seconds, where I'll go here, 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 and then here, here, here. So like 6 images. This is a wide angle lens, a 14 millimeter. If I'm doing a time lapse, like when you see things moving, then it's stationary and the Earth moves. Now there's one shot that in the final video that I'm going to show you where I had it locked on the heavens and you can see the Earth move like this, which I think is kind of an interesting effect too. The motion, you don't see it, but it's definitely there. So how it works is that if the North Star is right there, you see that little laser pointer? We set this on the North Star, and then as the heavens rotate during the night, the rotator moves the camera with the stars that are going like this, based on the North Star, because everything goes around the North Star, right? So the North Star could be there, it could be wherever, and this rig is to make sure that you can just kind of move it wherever. So that's one of my few deep space shots. It takes a lot of computing power, so I have to get a new computer if I'm going to do that more.
Battery operated?
Yep, rechargeable on the tracker. And then it's got an intervalometer on the top, which basically I set how many images I want it to take. So a lot of times I will set this and forget it. Remember the old rotisserie chicken thing? Set it and forget it. That's what I do when I just go to sleep. In the very end video that I'm going to show, there's a little glitch in the matrix because I forgot to tighten and I had to change the battery and so it moves slightly. And my buddy Derek, who's the leader of the workshops, said that was super close to the perfect time lapse until you screwed it up. Let there be light. I just saw this today. It popped into my head. It's like last 2 months, things I've been doing. This is the moment of conception. How cool is this? There's actually a spark of light when that sperm hits the egg. And it's called a zinc spark. And you can read it there, but this is from Northwestern University in 2014. Let there be light. How cool is that? Could be the soul entering. So this is Death Valley. Be still. This is probably my favorite verse of the whole presentation because, well, the rocks are clearly not still. These are called the sailing stones in Death Valley. And nobody knows exactly why they do this. It's kind of like wind, dew, ice, but it's hot there. It's called the racetrack playa. So there's, I don't know, maybe 40 stones on this kind of large expanse that all have these trails. And so it's just kind of fascinating to try to capture them. I totally used my phone on the foreground light because I wanted to see the dimension in the texture there a little bit more. Okay, this is fun. So be still, right? We all have monkey brains. There's lots going on in our heads, so we're gonna do a little practice thing today. And my friend Nikki, who's been helping me with meditation, is one of my students. Her little yoga pictures over here. She was gonna be here tonight, but she's a little sick, so she didn't want to come. Try this, because I don't know what to do, how to meditate. Bjorn has been teaching me about some meditation. I love it when your kids teach you stuff. That's pretty cool. I took this in the morning. It was about 7:30 in the morning in Glacier National Park. And this one has audio, too, so if you could turn that up a little bit. Just concentrate on your breathing. We're just going to do it for 1 minute, and then it's like a left and a right nostril, but let's just be still for 1 minute. Probably a little easier to do that if you're in Glacier National Park, but I usually just in the morning just kind of sit down on the side of my bed on the ground and just try to not think about anything, which is really difficult to do. So that's where chanting comes in. Like you can just say nonsense words or, Gregorian chant or something in Latin, whatever. Just to stop the thoughts come. And when the thoughts come into your head, you're just supposed to let them go. Just acknowledge it. All right, that's cool. Bye. Rather than think about it or bounce it around, just let it go. This is White Sands National Park, one of the first trips that I want to organize on my own. It's a beautiful sand dune area that are all white, obviously, just like this. So I took that picture on my first trip. You have to lose sight of the shore to discover new oceans. So a lot of patience, and sometimes we get clouded over, and then we end up editing our images at a coffee shop or whatever. Okay, this is going to take some narration. Okay, I'm looking at this fly in Utah, and it's moving faster than I could tell. It was looking like it was teleporting. And so I asked my buddies about it, and they're like, yeah, flies can move a little faster than our perception. And dogs can hear better, right, and see better. So I started thinking about all the invisible things that I've been taking pictures of. So the Earth has this magnetosphere, which is pretty cool. It protects us, and the solar flare hits it, and it lights up the electrons. That's the northern lights. But it's always there. The atmosphere is always there, but you can only see it if a piece of rock flies through it and burns up, a shooting star. I think I went 20 years without seeing a shooting star. I've seen a lot of them recently, but just because I wasn't looking, I think. So, yeah, if you caught that, I was like, well, there's a lot of things that we can do personally that you don't see unless you interact with another person. Like, how can you have compassion if you're by yourself? And then I start talking about, I went to Wicked is Good by myself, which was a whole other story. But I was thinking about a movie projector and how that looks like. The Northern Lights Corona is like, that's like the origin point, like straight up above. I was like, it looks kind of like a movie projector, so that's what I'm talking about.
Wish our weekdays
Listen to the words
away,
on this song.
spend our weekends in bed, drink ourselves stupid, work ourselves dead, and all just because that's what mom and dad said we should do. But we should run through the forests and swim in the streams and laugh and cry and love and dream and stare at the stars, not just at screens. Hear what I'm saying and know what it means to sing. Go on! Sing at the top of your voice. Can you love without fear in your heart? Come on, feel like you still have a choice. If we all like something, scare away the dark.
It's kind of fun juxtaposition of all the air traffic there with the Milky Way going. There was a funny story about how there was, in Los Angeles, there was a power outage. And there were all these UFO reports, like flooding in because people hadn't seen the Milky Way before. Well, you turn off a whole light in the city, you're like, oh, whoa, it's come to get us. Thank you. All right, another good quote. This is a funny image because it's a really bad image, but it's just funny. But it's fun. Cows are funny. If you stop and just look at, they want to see they're curious. And here's a little tip for taking pictures of any animals, especially dogs, because I was a portrait photographer for a long time. Do not say the dog's name. It's very distracting to the dog. So just everybody be quiet. I'm taking your family's picture right here. Everybody be quiet, and then I'm going to get the shot lined up, and then I just make this sound. And the dog perks his ears up and turns his head every time. Just something like that. So that's what I did to the cows. And then the horse joined in. I don't even know where that guy came from. There's probably a donkey in the back somewhere too, but just on the side of the road, and like they parted. This was like a 5-second thing, and that happened. So I was like, well, I have to make. And then there's a guy in the back going, hey, what happened? That's pretty funny. Okay, so this is a fun story too, because we were shooting until like 3 or 4 in the morning, and Derek says to me, hey, do you want to double up on this night? We can get to this petroglyph rock by probably 5:30 and shoot it for a half an hour before the sun comes up. This is in Death Valley. This is Sierra Nevada mountain range in the back. And I was like, okay. And it was kind of a hard scramble to get up there. And I'm not the youngest, spry 30-year-old that I used to be, so it was a little harder for me to get up in between these crevices. But these are like 6,000 years old. So I was thinking about Jesus, actually. I was like, Jesus could have gone to the same place and like, look, those are old. That's amazing. That's like a long time before BC. He's talking about BC. Like that's a long time. Okay, so adventure. This is the fun part. And the first time I went down to that Texas trip, I was loading like some granola bars and some waters in the back of my Nissan Rogue or whatever I got from the cheapest thing I could get. And I was like, this is really exciting. I don't know who I'm meeting. I don't know what I'm doing. I've got some gear, but I just don't know how this is going to turn out. But it was super exciting at the same time. So that's kind of the root of the word adventure, something that's about to happen. It's the anticipation. So here's a funny story from our family, is that there's been a couple years that I don't wrap Christmas gifts. I just kind of pile it all into a box. And it's like, here you go. And I feel like the kids are kind of like, Dad, what? Come on, wrap your present. But it's the magic of giving a gift. It's like that, the look that you have right before you start opening with the person, like, I wonder what you got me. Like, there was missing that. You know what I mean? Like, I think that there's some magic in that. And I think that's what adventure is. So there's a picture of, it's called Reflection Canyon. Well, actually, with Derek, he's got such loose itineraries. I prefer, and when I go shoot a wedding or if I go shoot Reflection Canyon, I don't look at anybody's other pictures of it because I don't want to be influenced by somebody else's image. I want to see it for the first time and shoot it how I want to shoot it, And I think that's part of the fun for me, I guess, anyway. All right, brain research. This is deep stuff. So when you do things that are new, if you do things that are old, you do the same thing all the time. Your brain squishes it together, and your life just kind of like scoots by because it's all the same. So, but if you go on a midnight walk with a headlamp on a Tuesday, and then you go for morning coffee with a headlamp on Thursday or whatever, like your brain is like, what's going on? I have to make all these new decisions. Or you go to a new place, and you're just like, where are we going to have lunch? Where do I go to the bathroom? All of these things. It's just good for your brain exercise to make those connections. And being outside enhances memory, focus, mood. I think we all know that. It's just like, go do it. And the easiest thing to do is take your trash out. Maybe take it out every day and just walk it up and down the driveway empty. That'd be fun. So I've also I've known a few close people recently that have dealt with depression and anxiety. And if you think about anxiety, you get anxious when you're thinking about something. You're spinning scenarios of the future. Oh, what if this happens? What if they don't get there? You worry, and if this is the present moment, and you're thinking about the future, every moment that you think about the future, you lose the present. Does that make sense? And every moment that you think about the past, depression, you're losing the present. So what if you're thinking about, oh, this happened in my past, or what's going to happen with my future relationships? Like, you're really not existing, I think. So be present. The times when I just stop and I'm like, all right, I'm not going to think about what I'm doing in 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and just have a conversation with somebody. But we all know that's the magic moment, right? Be present. This is Andromeda. This is also a stacked image. It took this was maybe like 50 images. To get that kind of blue in the ring takes a lot of detail. And so the pixels are just stacked on top of each other, and then the software averages out to kind of get that detail. If you want better deep space images, you have to get like a telescope. And that's just a lot of gear. It's hard to travel with that. And I like to travel, so this is kind of what, oh, was that the restart button that I hit? He's like, don't hit that button. Nope, I got it. Good job. I just saw this quote the other day, and I thought it was really interesting. If you know any complainers in your life, truest measure of intelligence is designing the life that you want to lead. Just a random guy on Instagram. I don't even think I followed it. It just popped up in my algorithm. But when you think about what you're doing with your lives right now, your time, who you spend it with, your decisions, money, all of that, it's like picture how you want it to be, and your body like figures it out. Your brain figures it out if you just picture that. It's the same as goal setting. It's the same as prayer. If you conceive it, if you can't conceive it, it's not going to happen probably unless you win the lottery. Our buddy Bob, I'm wearing a bolo tie. This one's for you, Bjorn. So the Grateful Dead, right? I don't know if they thought of that this quote is from last year, but they're called the Grateful Dead. I'll say this: I look forward to dying. I tend to think of death as the last and best reward for a life well lived, and that's it. That's the name of their band, basically. Happy to go on to the next realm. All right, here comes the math. You ready? If we picture a timeline like as wide as this room, and maybe your lifespan is this big, 100 years, whatever, 80 years. As we expand this timeline to infinity, what happens to this little block of time? It's infinitely small. Infinitely large, infinitely small. So if I ask any of you if you believe in eternal life, you probably all say yes, right? But if you believe in eternal life, what we're doing right here is very small. It's not even a blink of an eye. Like why would you not be kind to people? I don't know. Seems pretty easy. I have a little pennant. I don't know why I nerd out on stuff like this. It's swinging from my car rearview mirror. But this is what a meteorite looks like, which I think is really cool. It's got this kind of special pattern, that texture, whoever knows how to say that. And recently, in 2022, the DNA building blocks, those things, have all been found on meteorites. So the thought is, from Carl Sagan, that the cosmos is within us and we're all made of star stuff. It's hitting the earth and spreading stuff. This is me in a place called Cape Cathedral. Can you see me right there? This is me running to get there before the self-timer goes off. This is one of the most awkward nights I ever had because it was our last night in New Zealand, and it was just 70 degrees and no wind, and it looked like this, right? And I'm like, I'm staying here. And so me and this young photographer, Milky Way photographer of the year, his name is Tom Ray, slept on this beach, and it was cold, and we weren't dressed for it. And beaches are wet. I don't know if you knew that, but like, if you lay there long enough, the water seeps. I did 100 flights of stairs trying to stay warm. The whole time my camera was doing a time lapse. So I set it and forget it, but I watched it actually happen the whole time. But just a really cool place. The Lord is not in the wind, not in the earthquake, not in the fire, but in a gentle whisper. It's not the mountain that we conquer but ourselves. Sir Edmund Hillary. I did the same thing to this horse. This is Grand Teton National Park, Wyoming. Once in a while, I'll go outside and look up. It just puts everything in perspective. It's hard to do. When you go outside and look at the stars, if you drive to Hugo, and just sit there for a little bit, it takes about 20 minutes for your eyes, your irises to open up wide enough to like, okay, let's let that light in. And if you want your eyes to look cool, another photo tip, if you have colored eyes, like take a selfie right next to a window. So the brighter the light, your irises close more. Eye doctors right over here, yeah. So then they look more, if you have color, they look even more colorful if you're looking into a bright light when you take a picture. So a lot of times if I'm shooting a portrait and somebody's got really blue or green eyes or whatever, I'll like have the sun on them, and I was like, just close your eyes, on 3, open them and smile, and then you can see their irises just like close, and then they look way bluer. Okay, this is the fun part. I've got this print right here. Anybody who wants a chance to win at it, this is what we're gonna do, and I need a couple spotters. Sarah, can you spot? It'll be pretty easy. Okay. We're just going to scan, and we're going to see who does it first. You have to stand up and clap over your head and blurt out the mathematical correct answer. Okay? No, you just have to. No, you can't stand up until you know what the answer is. So you have to know what the question is. Yeah. So the standing and clapping is so we can kind of see who does it first. Okay? Monty, you ready? All right, here we go. This is in White Pocket, Arizona. Isn't that cool? There's a couple little cactus flowers. Okay. Stand up, and this is Death Valley. Okay, here we go. You ready, Sarah? We're looking. What's next? Oh! Yes, this is kind of like a Simon Says. What's the ruling by the judges?
I don't know. We have to do either one. Rock, paper, scissors.
You two can just come up afterwards, and we'll figure it out. Nice job. So this is called the Fibonacci sequence. You take the 2 previous numbers, and you add the next one. 2 previous numbers, add the next one. So cool. You ready for this stuff? Yeah, you can go down on the lights again. You want to look at it again? So you add, it's 1 plus 1 is 2, 1 plus 2 is 3, 2 plus 3 is 5, 3 plus 5 is 8. It's a divine proportion. It's got a lot of names, Archimedes spiral, and you see it all over nature, called the golden ratio. So you see right here, these are the 2 1 squares, 1 by 1. So then that makes a 2 by 2, and then you go 1 plus 2 is 3 by 3. 3 plus 2 is the 5 by 5. 5 plus 3 is 8. Look at that. How cool is that? There's a seahorse in there. A bunch of shells. So Da Vinci used these, and this is kind of, arguable a little bit. Parthenon. Cool thing about the Mona Lisa, I don't know if you knew, is that Da Vinci took maybe 10 years to paint her. It was a commission for someone else, a portrait of his wife, and he just kept working on it. It's actually 3D. He made so many layers, like over the cheeks, that it looks kind of like a sculpture from the side. And then he studied the atmospheric conditions, like the back kind of fog. He would try to get that right and would just tweak it and tweak it and tweak it. He didn't finish it for 10 years. It's kind of crazy. Same thing with the Last Supper there. Here's some other Da Vinci artworks and their symmetry. The Vitruvian Man is really cool because it's thought of as a link between art and science. The measure of all things, the figure's limbs fit perfectly in a circle and square linking human anatomy to the universal mathematical principles of the divine order, showcasing art and science intertwined. You see the square on the straight out, and then the circle when he's up with the legs out. If you go to Chicago, this is a cool little patterns and shape in nature exhibit at this science museum, the Griff Museum of Science Industry, on my list for a road trip. All right, fractal part. This is so cool. Broccoli and cauliflower, next time you eat them, look at one little branch, look at the branch of the branch. It's all the same structure. And they're all over the place. These are drone images. You see those sediment layers are kind of ring around the tub. If you see like an ancient ocean, you picture it kind of like sinking and just deposits whatever was dropped in it, volcanic eruption or whatever. But the branches of all these are fractals. There's your iris. There's a what? Those look the same. A nebula, root system, and lightning. I mean, all these things. A brain cell, tree branches. Snowflakes. I was like, well, let's look into that. They're all based on a hexagon, which is kind of mathy. Look at this graph. I was like, I'm just going to pop that in there. This is like the relative humidity and the temperature and what kind of snowflake forms due to the humidity and temperature. Yeah, that's kind of interesting. This is called a Cox snowflake, 3D version and a 2D version. Same thing, triangle, triangle, littler triangle, littler triangle, little triangle, all the way down. Beautiful stuff, right? Mandelbrot set. Same thing, it's just getting smaller and smaller all the way down. For you math people, different coefficients. This is so geeky. All right, a couple people to follow. You can take a picture of this or whatever, but Alexandra just won an award on like education and astronomy. She's just talking about all 9 of those things that happened. This is a picture from the Euclid telescope, which was just recently giving out images in the last couple months, I think. You can see all those it's just galaxy after galaxy. It's a picture full of galaxies. It's just hard to fathom. And this is the Church of the Good Shepherd in New Zealand. I was on that trip with Derek on the left there too. Okay, now this is fun. Turtle time. Next time you see a turtle, count the scales. They're called scoots, I guess. So the lunar calendar had 13 months, 28 days, and it worked out to 364 plus 1 day of rest, whatever. That is like an ancient calendar, but it's the same as the turtle's back. Isn't that cool? 13 big ones, 28 little ones. So what happened was that the calendar changed in the Roman time to Gregorian, which is based on the solar cycle. I just learned this recently too. Like October, what does octo mean? It means 8, but it's the 10th month. What? December, what does deca mean? What is the 12th month? Okay. So Mr. Narcissist guys named months after themselves. Julius and July and Augustus Caesar, August, and then it scooted everything out because they didn't have enough months. The seasons were getting off when they first made their calendar. Like, oh, let's tweak this a little bit. I'll just name one after myself. That's silly. This guy, I love this guy. He's probably my favorite person to follow. His videos are like super concise. It's very grounded in math. He's talking, this is the shape of a proton in the upper right here, or photon, like the smallest particle of light, same kind of proportions. He's trying to describe if consciousness has a shape. Like, isn't that an interesting thing to try to wrap your brain around? some ancient Egypt stuff, and then this is kind of the divine proportions, square root of 5, binary sequence, and so forth. Base forge. Okay. This is exciting. I had to switch to audiobook, and I can only listen for 45 minutes because the words are so cerebral. But this guy was an astrophysicist, and he's trying to... Okay, here's the story of the shaman and the Ring doorbell YouTuber. They're sitting in this tent together, and the shaman regularly communicates with people that have passed on, relatives and friends. To him, that is science. You can just communicate with people that have passed. To the YouTuber, that's mysticism, right? But then the YouTuber says, hey, here's a Ring doorbell camera. I can watch anybody, anywhere, anytime. And the shaman's like, well, that's mysticism. You know, they both have a different perspective on what's science and what's mysticism. And so this book it's bringing them closer and closer together, because everything was mystical. Something flying in the air was mystical and before the Wright brothers. And then all of a sudden it became science, when it's like, oh, and then it's even, and then, you know, it just becomes closer and closer. And if you think that, like, religion, and specifically Christianity, is, you know, belief-based and not science, try doing what Jesus tells us to do once in a while and see if it changes your life, because that's science. Does that make sense? Is that good theology? Totally just made that up. Right? We're supposed to do certain things. So if you sit and hear Breck talking, you're like, that sounds great, I believe that. You should actually do it, and then it becomes like scientific theory. Let's have a hypothesis, let's try it out, and let's draw some conclusions from that, you know? Otherwise, it's just, belief is just a hypothesis, is what this book is saying. Okay, what else I'm curious about? Some other life hacks and tips. How are we doing here? Oh, I gotta go fast. Okay. I've been studying sleep ever since COVID. I fell asleep with my Apple Watch on one day, and it said I had this much deep sleep. I was like, tell me about it. People ask me how I follow these young whippersnappers all around, and it's because I've learned to sleep. And the key is so simple. You just have to go to sleep on an empty stomach. And it's kind of hard to do, but if you can not eat or drink, water even, you're going to have crazy awesome dreams, crazy deep sleep. Do it 2 nights in a row. Scientific theory, and tell me how it goes. And the human body's pretty cool. I remember pulling an all-nighter in college. How you kind of like, you're okay. You're like, you get up in the morning, like Kramer on Seinfeld. He's like, I'll sleep 10 minutes every hour, and I'll do all these things. But then he just got bored because he had so much time. It's kind of funny, you know. So deep sleep, yeah, try it. Same thing, this is a place in Turkey that I want to visit. It's like the oldest place that is still around, and it was getting conquered, so they like filled it with rubble. So it was all filled with rubble, but it has all these cool things. Look it up, Göbekli Tepe. The power of the brain, a little exercise, like when you're looking at the screen right now, can you see your nose? You don't think you can see it, but now you concentrate, you can see it, right? Your brain edits it out of your vision, but it's there, and now you look at it, it's there. Isn't that interesting? Our brains are pretty cool. Limitless, Martha and I have been watching this show. It's on National Geographic. Chris Hemsworth, the Thor guy, right? He takes his shirt off a lot, so ladies, you'll like it. He is charged in season 2, episode 1, he's charged with learning the drums in 8 weeks and playing at an Ed Sheeran concert in Poland for 80,000 people. And he's not musical, he doesn't play drums. And if we put a drum set up here and had everyone kind of try it, most of us would give up, right? You're like, I'm not good at that. There's probably a few drummers in here. But the premise of the show is that we can do anything that we want. It's just that we give up. If you just keep going, your brain is like, all right, I need to learn this because you're not quitting, and your brain will figure it out. So he's up there playing to 80,000 people. It's a really cool show, and there's multiple episodes of it. This is maybe my most favorite thing to talk about, the double slit experiment. Raise your hand if you know about this. 1, 2, okay. A few people, that's great. This boggles my mind, because this was proven 225 years ago. It's like the Force type of stuff. Thomas Young, he's shining a flashlight. I'm going to get my real laser pointer here. like shooting little photons through a slit, and you expect that the shadows, or the light would hit like this. But when they look away, it turns into a wave. This is a wave interference pattern, and this is a particle, like little bullets, rather than a wave going through there. Einstein talked about it, the photoelectric effect, and then there's a Nobel Prize on this quantum entanglement. You probably heard a little bit about that, and I didn't know much about it, but I did it for this talk. So our expectation, a human expectation of this experiment changes the behavior of these photons. Isn't that amazing? I mean, this is the funniest picture I can think of. The guy looks away, it's a wave, he's looking at it, it's a particle. What? The duality of these tiny particles. So if we can change like the smallest thing, the smallest building block by paying attention to it, I think that's phenomenal. Also phenomenal. The stuff that when you change the spin or the temperature of one of these particles, and the vast distances away, the entangled particle does the same thing. It's magic. I'm doing so good. I'm actually going to get through all these slides. I was going to do this little thing on iPhone photography, so I'll just give you a little taste. Martha and I were driving back from Montana. Did anybody see this? When was this? Just after Christmas, like the 27th or 28th? There's literally like 5 suns. This one here and this one here were like past 180 from us. It was like the sundog, and then this thing was this shape, but my camera did this because I was doing a panoramic. This is a perfect circle. Can you see the other circle right here? I thought it was a rapture. I was like, let's go. Driving the CRV right into the rapture. A couple of just other little tips when you're taking a picture. There's that square. You can touch it for focus, and there's this little sun by it. You can drag it up or down. So if you're in a recital or a dark environment or bright environment, you can change it and take a picture. Self-timer, yeah, easy. Rule of thirds. Do this. Next time you take a picture, don't bullseye the person right in front, right in the middle, because then your brain doesn't see the sides. Put the person to the side, tap the little square, and then put something else interesting. And then if you can put the interesting objects on the intersections of those squares, it's much more pleasing. Have you ever looked at a picture and you're like, that's a great picture, but I don't know why? It's because your eye sees 3 things. You can see the subject, something in the background, and then something else, maybe a foreground element or something. So try to get 3 things in every picture that you take. Long exposures. I mean, this is an iPhone picture of the night sky in a dark sky environment. But you just hit the down arrow here, and then you slide this little moon guy. You know when it says hold steady? You can, if it's sitting on a tripod or your hood of your car or something, you can let it go to 30 seconds, and it'll let all that light in, and it'll take a good picture. Can't do it with the northern lights because they're bright enough. But if you want to do a night sky shot and you're somewhere on vacation, try that. And then when you edit, I just go highlights down, the whites down, and the shadows up, and add some contrast. Anytime you take pictures of people, their faces look dark, right? Especially eye sockets. Just raise those shadows up a little bit and the highlights down and add a little bit of contrast until you like it. Your pictures will look way better. Oh my gosh. The final. Here we go. All right, let's turn up the volume on this. And maybe turn off the lights if somebody's around for the lights. little Hans Zimmer and things there. Thank you so much. Thanks for your time. Go enjoy nature. It's really that simple. Thanks.
Yes, truly, thanks, Judd. It was so fun to be able to be a part of this, where I know you're so comfortable behind a camera and to get up for your first time in front of a crowd.
That was it.
You did awesome. Yes. There is no question that we will all take a nugget, if not many nuggets, of beauty, of wisdom, of new thoughts. And am jealous, and I wish I could be in all of the small groups to hear the discussion that happens, because I know there's so much fodder for discussion. And so thank you for sharing your gift with us. If you are still looking to be in a small group or want to, Sue Leonardson will meet you right over at the table. Also on the table, there are some cards available for you to pick up and some other things to learn about more of his photography. But truly a blessing to be together, and yeah, enjoy your small group time or hang out afterwards. Judd will be out there if you want to continue the conversation. Have a great evening. Thanks.
What about it?
Tell us about your camera.
It's a Canon 5D.
No special modification.
No, it's an R5. It's Astro modified. The sensor's Astro modified.
All right.
Yeah.
No argument. Just give it to the woman.
Good job.